Well, I have started recording now. Okay, so we have these two test cases class, test case 1, test case 2, and we are using test space, right? And here we are declaring the reusable variables or reusable method, which you're going to do later in next branch. But for now, all we have done is that this test based class is kind of rendering its services to its child classes. That means all the things which we had here previously, which we had in the individual classes, we have moved it up one level up. So one level up in this case is test base, and we are making use of those variables, right? So this is how we are avoiding the need to write these variables in the individual classes. This is how we are avoiding, because you can actually have 50 100 test classes, right? And so much code, repeated code which is there, is not good. Code should not get repeated unnecessarily. It is in violation of dry principle, don't repeat yourself. So if code is getting repeated, it's a bad thing. Okay, now there's one more thing which is getting repeated here, right? For example, this before methods setup is getting repeated here. This is also getting repeated, right? This is again a wrong thing. So in the next branch, we'll again put them in the parent branch, sorry, in the parent class. Okay, here. So whatever the idea, when you use inheritance, the idea usually remains whatever is getting repeated. And if you have a parent, try to move them up, right? So the more methods you bring, or you keep in the topmost level, the more reusability it would give you. Okay, so in this case, if you see, this code is getting repeated in written in test cases 1, and the same is repeated in the test case 2. Again, not good. So what we'll do in the next branch, we'll move them in the test space. That I'll show you in the next branch. But in this specific branch, we have one more thing, which is like we have one more test cases. So we have searched for products. So in the previous branch, we had only one method, right? Check website is working. Now we have enhancing our framework. So enhancement usually goes towards two directions. One is you will enhance your framework, and second is your create more test cases on top of it, right? So though these two are different things. So right now we are doing both the things simultaneously. So this is like how you develop a framework, right? So this is an activity, and framework not always has to necessarily be created that okay, we'll first develop the framework, then we'll create the test case on top of it. Both the things can go simultaneously. So what the approach which we have taken for this framework development activity for now is that we are developing our framework as well as we are adding more test cases, right? But the idea is that we will spend more time in developing the framework than developing the test cases, because developing the test cases usually will take more time later if you wish to change it. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll keep our test case development to the minimum, and we will keep on adding more framework related enhancements in our framework basically. Any doubts so far?
No.
Okay, thanks. Guys, give me a minute. So in this case, we have this test case. Sorry, in this test case, we have one thing I want to highlight here. So I am actually, if you see, I am using WebDriver wait here, right? Anyone knows what is WebDriver wait? Can you tell me?
No clue.
Uh,
Hmm.
Don't know it? Okay.
uh,
Okay.
uh,
Explicit.
it shows timing shows. It shows timing to load anything. Like if we are अगर हम ये कोई वेबसाइट यूज कर रहे हैं तो उसका लोड टाइम.
What you see right now is actually is an example of explicit wait. Okay, I have mentioned this in the here as well somewhere. For synchronization, you use this. After product is searched, we need to instruct the Selenium to wait for specific condition before proceeding to the next step. Now, this is different than implicit wait. By the way, there are two words, implicit and explicit. Implicit really means about that it is happening within. Explicit is you have to mention it explicitly, means बाहर से देना पड़ेगा उसको, उस आर्ग्यूमेंट को, right? उन डिटेल्स को. When you do implicit wait, so example, we are doing implicit wait, right? Once you set the implicit wait, you don't have to mention it again and again. So every time before it throws an error, driver will actually wait for a specific period of time. For example, we have mentioned implicit wait timeout in second, which is defined here, which is 20 seconds for now, right? So every time you try to, or before an error is thrown by the driver object, because everything is driven here from driver object, right? Anytime this, whenever the driver face sees an potential of an error, it checks whether it has an implicit wait timeout, and it will wait, right? But in this case, so this is how that's the reason it's called as implicit wait, because once you set it, you don't have to do it again. It happens within the driver object. But here, this is another kind of wait. Now this is called a synchronization. Okay, now here there is another, guys, again, I'm sorry, give me a minute. All right, so so this is implicit wait, and this is how we define an explicit wait. And in explicit wait, you have the option to, first of all, explicitly tell that you have to wait, and also you have the option to tell the condition, right? Now there are a lot of conditions. Now for this, first of all, let me just give you a small brief about this. The way you implement an explicit wait is you create the object called as WebDriver wait. Rather, there are two ways of doing this. So one is WebDriver wait, then you can also use fluent wait. WebDriver wait is nothing but a special case of fluent wait. So eventually it will also call the fluent wait interface basically. But both are called explicit wait. So usually people, when someone asks in an interview, tell me what kind of weights are there, so people say we have implicit wait, we have explicit wait, and then we have fluent wait, which is actually a wrong statement. uh, there are only two types: implicit, explicit. And explicit usually have these two classes called as WebDriver wait or fluent wait. Right now I'm using WebDriver wait, wherein I am declaring the variable with the new keyword, and then I'm passing two arguments. One is driver, so whatever, whenever you create a driver, you're passing it here. And then I'm using a method called as until. Inside this, I have to mention an expected condition. So till here, everything remains the same. What changes is, or what's relevant to you is these methods. So Selenium provides you many methods for your need or requirement, based on which, or they are actually kind of a condition, right? Because the URL loading is very simple condition, that okay, URL gets loaded, I have to wait till the URL is completely loaded. But there are a lot of other things which you do within a page, and the page is so dynamic these days that the loading still is there, but the Ajax control is happening, right? Ajax transaction is happening. For example, you click on a link and there is small spinning symbol is coming, and after some time there is a text which is going to be different, and till the text is changed, you need to wait till that moment, right? So all of this, these things, these kind of scenarios, small synchronization scenarios, can be handled using these methods. So I'm using very simple one called as element to be clickable. That means until the element is clickable, that means it is loaded complete, because Selenium has this implicit way of handling any element or handling any operations, wherein it will first check whether the element is loaded completely, and then only it will actually perform an operation on it. So for to satisfy this condition, you will have to mention some expected condition in the WebDriver wait, right? For example, if the title, for example, you're loading the page, but the title is dynamically changing based on the after the loading time, so you have to wait till the title is changed or title becomes something, right? Similarly, there is an alert comes after some time. For example, you do something and there is a pop-up is coming, right? So that is alert. So you have to see whether you have to wait till alert is present, right? So there are different conditions. Most probably you will not be able to practice all of them, but at least you need to know where to implement whenever there is a need, how you will come forward and implement it, right? Let me Okay. Now next is, so here in this case, I am using element to be clickable, and here I am mentioning what element that would be. So here I'm saying to tab search text box. How did I come to know this? Um, Using the ID. So basically, I'm trying to look for this button basically. So I'll go inspect, and I am using, which one is this? to tab search text. Oh, it's a text box. Actually, I'm looking for this text box. I'm saying until I get this, I will not be able to move forward. I'm still not seeing to search tab text box. Oh, this is the one. To tab search text box. So I'm saying unless I get this ID, I'm saying by.id to tab search text box. Right? Unless I get this ID and that ID is clickable, until then wait. And I'm also saying a timeout here. So I'm giving it a timeout of 20 seconds. For if in 20 seconds, if it couldn't find it, then it will keep on waiting, right? But here, in some sense, it's a duplicacy in the sense I really don't need this one because I have already set the implicit wait, and the job of implicit wait is exactly this. So if I remove this, then also my implicit wait will handle this case situation, this case. However, I have just used this just to explain you guys how to implement an explicit wait. Otherwise, this implicit wait can handle the situation very well, because the job of implicit wait is also the same. If this is taking time to load, fine, it will wait. It will not go forward. It will continue to wait unless it becomes loaded, or it becomes available for operation, right? So both, however, there's no harm in using both of these things. So implicit wait you have to use, and explicit wait is you use when you are in a situation where this implicit wait is not handling things. In this case, implicit wait can handle this situation. But there, as I'm saying, there are cases where implicit wait is not able to handle these kind of situations, and that's when you have to use explicit wait using right conditions, which you have to identify. That's the job of an automation tester. You have to identify where and in what way you can implement explicit wait. Okay, any doubts so far? Implicit wait, explicit wait?
Akash, if you could just show us an example, where we can use both these commands. The meaning is still the same. We tell the driver to wait for the element to load completely. So if you could in the future, can just show us some example where to use both the commands, because I'm still confused with this explicit.
Mm, okay, so for example, okay, I get your point. So I will have to come up with some examples. Okay, I don't know if we already have these examples. Okay, so we have this Selenium WebDriver topics where we had some synchronization, different kind of synchronization which we had here. I don't quickly see it right away. Anyway,
Because we haven't covered the topic of this synchronization.
you guys didn't do this so far, synchronization?
No.
Okay, that's
We
why.
had covered
That's
only until the X path for
okay,
passive.
okay, I see. Okay, that's fine. Okay, see, so we will take that session as well separately, but that doesn't stop you from working on this framework. Okay, um, because there are two things, right? We have topics, and then we have topic in a context. So with this framework, we are trying to learn whatever topic is there, whatever Selenium topic is there, how it makes sense when we actually apply this in a right context. The right context here is your JUnit framework. Okay, so we'll take that session separately. Okay, but you start implementing these things. You start implement, because I'm telling you that this is a good practice. You always have to use implicit wait, and explicit wait you use when your code doesn't work properly, or your code is giving random errors, right? Or your application is such wherein it is actually behaving or uh, how to put it. So let me, if I click on a specific link, for example, this one, so I will have to simulate that that scenario which I'm talking about. Okay,
Hello,
yeah,
sir. Then can we say that the implicit wait? Uh, Hello,
yeah, tell me, yes, yeah, carry on,
hello.
yeah,
Yes.
carry on, I'm listening.
So, explicit wait will help us in extending the time span that has been offered by implicit wait. In a particular scenario like search operation, implicit wait will not
Yeah,
be helpful
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
the time
True,
span is
true.
limited.
Yes, true.
Okay.
So yeah, so good definition. For example, this will only wait for 20 seconds. Okay, okay. But if I want that, okay, search for product actually takes 60 seconds to load sometimes. So I will say 60. So it will now then wait for 60 seconds. So this acts as an enhancement on top of implicit wait, right? So this is in some way right definition, not right definition, right way of putting what, where can we use explicit wait. So explicit wait you will use where you have to put some extra condition. What I'm saying is right now there is no need because implicit wait can handle it. I'm saying because if the text box is not coming in 20 seconds, I would say this is a flaw and my test case should fail. It will be a genuine fail because the text box is not coming in a right duration of time, right? So implicit wait can handle this situation, but there are cases, and you will realize when you actually automate, when you come across, and we will come across such situation in coming days when we automate more test cases, right? And this is, it is not really feasible for to practice or simulate all of them, right? It's just whenever you will feel a need to apply this, you would know where to look at. That's the idea. Okay, so for example, if sometimes you have to wait for a situation where the alert is coming and you have to wait till the alert is coming, because when you click on a button and an alert is coming, and that appearance of alert, the time it would take to display the alert by the application is not constant. Sometimes it comes in 5 seconds, sometimes it comes in 10 seconds, sometimes it comes in 20 seconds, right? So this implicit wait cannot handle it, because you have to, along with the implicit wait, you have to apply one more condition, right? The condition would be, in this case, can be alert is present, so it will wait till the alert is present. So you have to, this synchronization is nothing but a way of providing the tolerance, right? You're tolerant, you're giving your script some level of tolerance uh, for the mistakes of the application or the load or response time of the application, because the application is like a baby to the Java compiler, right? Java works very fast, and it is, we have to force it to wait for the response which is going to give, which would the application would take, basically, right? So that tolerance is to be given to the Java by you. So this is how you give that tolerance to your script or your Java code to wait for a certain period of time, either implicitly or explicitly. So there are only two ways of doing this.
Now, sir, before this block of code, there is another method, driver.getTitle. So for that, implicit wait will be applicable, right? Just
Right,
above to
correct,
that block of
correct,
code.
correct, correct,
Okay. Okay.
correct. Okay. So wherever there is no mention of any explicit wait, that means implicit wait is in play. So that's the reason you have to use implicit wait always as a good practice. If you don't do this, then your application, if there is an error, it will immediately fail. It will not tolerate the response time of or bad response time of your application, because the definition of bad response time would be 0 seconds. So Java would say, okay, I need your response in zero second, which is not possible, right? So that's the reason you say to driver, this is how you're instructing your Java compiler to wait, right? And this will be applicable wherever there is a operation happening with respect to the driver object, because driver has this setting, and whenever, because whatever you do in a browser goes through driver object. So this driver actually represents a running browser, a running Chrome browser, right? Whatever you do, whatever setting you do in here, it would actually represents the actual live Chrome browser. So if you want to do anything in that Chrome browser, it has to go through driver, and driver then takes care about the response time, which you have already configured here. Okay, guys, the meeting is going to get over soon. I'm going to send a new link. Just join that. Sorry for that.